Yeah, the thing I had this morning, at first I thought, oh, I'm just gonna I think I know sometimes coffee shop stale or has no flavor whatsoever. This clearly made with butter, which is relatively fresh, as probably yesterday or last night.
Hi there, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Maricopa County Democratic Party LD1 Zoom meeting. The meeting actually on Zoom starts at 7 o'clock. Those folks who are in person are doing the in-person social as we speak, which I'll show you momentarily. And then we'll get going here at 7 o'clock on the Zoom. So be with you just a little bit. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to those who've joined the Zoom early. Thank you for joining. We greatly appreciate it. We'll get started here on Zoom at 7 o'clock. And like I said earlier, we've got some signings happening out here at the Williams Coffee Shop. We're doing a variety of things from drinking coffee, interacting, and we'll get this kicked off at 7 o'clock with Adrian Fontes, hopefully on right at 7:05. So feel free to mingle amongst yourselves, and I'll be back shortly.
then we'll put like name and then stuff. I hear. Now click this like meeting.
All right, folks.
All right, now let me write this down.
Oh, good job, Andrew.
I'm bad at this. Sorry.
No,
screwed it
I
up.
have no idea.
I screwed it all up.
Here, tell me
So-
the meeting ID.
260
26. Okay.
7.
Sorry, I'm not.
They're going to see us through there.
So you're gonna just.
All right. Hi, everybody who's out there in Zoom land. It's 6:42 p.m. here at the Williams Coffee Shop, which I'll show you a little bit of a view here momentarily. We're kicking off on Zoom at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. We're getting kicked off there. But I'll give you a little tour around here at Williams Coffee and some of the social interaction we're having prior to this. So check it out, and we'll be with you shortly. We've got all kinds of petitions here being signed in person as well. We've got the lovely Ruth Lambert here managing and taking care of that. Got Connie Henry here over handling this as well. Hello. Hi to the Zoom family. Hi, Zoom family. Hey, Ron, how's it going? Doing good, thanks. Thanks for being here. That's Ron Williams there of the Mule News. If you don't get the Mule News, check it out. He's out there telling about us all the time. Again, a little socialization. Mike and Crystal over here, all kinds of folks hanging around here. So we'll be back with you shortly here. Hopefully, like I said, starting around 7:05 with Adrian Fontes. So again, thanks for being here. We're trying this hybrid our first time, so appreciate your patience. And looks like lots of people are fairly happy with some coffee. So hopefully we'll get to make this a little bit bigger for the next round. So talk to you shortly. Thanks. All right, greetings again, folks. 6:47 here at the Williams Coffee House. You'll notice here shortly, I'll show you Representative Reginald Boulding, who's here. He'll be speaking, as I mentioned, somewhere around 7:20, 7:25, somewhere in that range. And then, as I mentioned before, Adrian Fontes will be here shortly as well, online on our Zoom meeting and speaking probably from about 7:05 to 7:20. So we've got a nice large crowd, everybody eating and drinking. Got a mixture of masks and not masks, but we'll do the best we can to get everybody to get coordinated and set. And looking forward to getting a chance to speak to all of you here shortly. So here you are on the big screen, so we can see you as well. And hopefully you'll be able to see the folks who are going to be speaking as well. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being online. We appreciate it. And we're giving this our best shot doing this hybrid setup. So I hope you enjoy it. We'll take your feedback. We appreciate your feedback and speak to you again here momentarily. All right, just giving you a little bit of a view here so you can see and hear and see all the crowd we've got going. Again, thank you folks for attending online as well. We appreciate it. Got lots of petition signing happening, which is very nice.
Someone. Got two of those.
Two of what?
1, 2.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
All right, greetings and salutations again. For those of you who are joining in a little bit late, it's Chris Miller behind this mask here. I'm trying to do my best to maintain a mask situation here at the Williams Coffee. We're gonna get kicked off here at 7 o'clock on the Zoom. We'll do about 3 minutes of overview for LD1, the financial information, some of the stuff that's going on. And then from there, what we will do is we will share with you the rest of the story about what's going on with Adrian Fontes Reginald Boulding, who's also here with us in person, and looking forward to talking to you all. Can you all hear me? I assume you can all hear me. Somebody give me a thumbs up. Okay, Anna's shaking her head. Thank you, appreciate that. And I'll show you around the environment here so you can take a look. So we got a fairly social crowd here. Fairly social crowd here of folks interacting. Again, also people signing petitions. Really big petition signing opportunity here. So they're coming around here. Representative Boulding talking to a variety of folks here. So again, we're mingling and interacting. So again, thanks for you folks who are online. Totally understand. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming out in person. You know, those folks who did, and thanks for those of you who are online. We appreciate it. And like I said, the program will start here in about 7 or 8 minutes. So, all right, we got a nice sized crowd. We got lots of coffee going on. And we got luck. We also got lucky tonight. It's probably, I'd say maybe 89 degrees out here with a very light breeze and rain expected just after the meeting finishes. So it should be nice and cool for us. So again, thanks folks for being online. We'll get us going here shortly. All right, folks, greetings again. 5 minutes till we get this thing kicked off and set and ready to go. Thanks again for all of you who are online. And again, here we got a nice crowd here in person as well. So hope this will be a great programming. And of course, we'd love your feedback at the end. We're trying out this hybrid version for the first time here. So we'll see how it goes. 89 degrees, light breeze, which is helpful for us being outside. We chose to do this outside because we actually got a larger crowd than we expected in person. So thanks for being here. Please enjoy the program and we'll get started here in, like I said, 3 or 4 minutes. All right, folks, 2 minutes. We are starting in 2 minutes. So for those of you on the Zoom, thank you again so much for being there. We're trying out our technical hybrid model here in person live as we speak. So we're working through a glitch or two, but we'll get going here momentarily. Thank you for being here online. Again, for those of you who are fresh to the Zoom, who have not seen us, we've got a fairly large crowd that's showed up for us. Wave, wave, wave. So we've got all kinds of folks here. And of course, at the same time, we've got a lucky Max truck who's dropping some stuff off. So it'll be quiet shortly, I hope. All right, folks, thank you again for joining everyone. It is 7:01. So I am going to work to do my best to quiet the crowd here, and then we'll get the ball rolling for all of you. So thanks again for joining, and momentarily we'll get started.
Okay, maybe. Mhm.
All right, folks, out there in Zoom land, it is a pleasure to see most of all of you. I just gave the folks who are here on site the kickoff to let them know to try to be somewhat quiet. And at the same time, I'm going to sit here and hold my phone. So I'm going to be a little bit rude for them because I'm looking at my phone and not the crowd there. We're kicking off tonight. We're trying this hybrid approach. So we get a chance for you to see all of us and see the details behind what we're trying to do here. So our goal, if we can do this correctly, is trying to give you the opportunity to spend some time on Zoom, spend your time with us if you wish to, and some type of mix, and that's where we're really going to go from here. So with that, I will start us off. Do we have any veterans in the crowd? Anybody? All right. All right, so let me do this. I also owe William. William was in the very, very back, a debt of gratitude for allowing us to use his space and his facility. Thank you very much for having us. We greatly appreciate it. And for those of you that are not aware, this is at North Valley Parkway and Carefree Highway. So 3170 West Carefree Highway, I think is the address, if I'm not mistaken. So please make sure you stop in here. It is a great coffee shop. They do all kinds of great pastries and whatnot as well. Make sure you're coming in here. And thanks again for doing that. So with that, William, congratulations. You get to say the Pledge of Allegiance to this flag that I've carried easily. So I hope so as well. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you so much for that. So set this off to the side. So we're going to do a very short intro tonight. We've got Mike Petty, who's here with us, who's our treasurer. He's going to give us a 30-second treasury report just to say where we're at, how it's going. He likes to usually go through this spreadsheet in detail in our board meetings. He's not going to do that here. He's just going to give you like 2 sets of numbers and then he's ready to go. So Mike, you're on. 30 seconds is it.
Our balance as of today is $6,162.54, which is up actually down $138 from our last meeting about 2 months ago. The highlights, we had contributions of $1,238 came in the last couple of months. That was roughly, we have 21 recurring donors, which again, thank you so much for those of you who are donating on a recurring basis. And those of you who don't do it here and there, that's wonderful too. Thank you so much for everybody who contributes. We spent about $1,376. The highlights of that would be events. We had some
We can't hear.
Okay, let me repeat it for you all, but I'll give it to you momentarily. Go ahead and finish up, Mike, and I'll tell you the rest of the story. Okay, thanks. All right, so basically what Mike told you, and sorry, I realized that the microphone is sitting in my ear, which is probably why you can't hear him. He basically said we had about $6,100 in our current coffers. We currently have recurring donations of about $675. Is that right, Mike? Give or take a bit. We did spend a little bit of money during this period of time focusing on some of their postcards and whatnot. So if you have not seen our postcards, I hope that you've seen our postcards somewhere here. If you haven't seen them as of yet, I've shown these a couple of different times. So these, we got some extra ones of these to try to help out with getting some more recruitment. So that's what we spend some money on. And of course, we appreciate your recurring donations and those of you who just donate once in a while as well. During the break between Adrian Fontes and Reginald Boulding, what I will do is I will give you a special offer if you do some donations this evening. So we do have some stuff to give away, so we will do that this evening. So we'll do that during the break here. So if you'll just give me a moment here, I'll check to see if we have Adrian Fontes on the line. We'll get him all set and ready to go and be right back with you. All right, give me just a moment here, folks. Just awaiting Adrian Fontes. So it'll be just a moment, then we'll get the ball rolling. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for being here. And I hope it's working well, at least to get started with.
Check, 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 check. Can you hear me okay?
Master's degree suite in America. Learn more at rasmussen.edu.
All right. Folks, a change in plans here real quickly. We'll have a microphone here. We're going to change the complete order because yeah, I don't see Adrian here at this point. So give me just a second. Let's get Representative Boulding all set and ready to go here. Try it now.
Testing, testing, testing. No?
Can everybody hear it on the Zoom?
Yes. Zoom.
The Zoom is perfect.
The Zoom. Oh, it's just for the Zoom. Oh,
Yes, you have to talk to them
Okay.
in the
All
Zoom.
right.
So if I can just give a quick introduction. Representative Boulding is doing so much in the House of Representatives for us. The minority leader in the House, also running for Secretary of State here, has one of the largest opportunities to help new voters get into signing into the voting environment. And he is doing everything. I've seen him everywhere across the entire state. He is nice enough to come up and visit us in person. And so we appreciate that. Representative Boulding, it is all yours. Thanks so much.
All right. So thank you, Chris. Thank you all for being here. It is absolutely great to be in person. I definitely want to spend a little bit of time telling you a little bit about, my story, about the office and why it matters right now, and then take time for any questions that you all may have. If at any point in time you need me to speak a little louder, let me know. I'll use my teacher voice, and we can make that happen. But for me, I was born and raised in a small town in Ohio. And I got a couple Midwesterners, always a few in the crowd. And, I can remember every night, staying up, watching TV shows like Law and Order and The Practice, pretending to be that lawyer, grilling a witness on the stand to make sure that I can stand up for those individuals who couldn't speak for themselves. So for me, I always wanted to be a lawyer. But like many kids who hadn't seen opportunities, or people who were in their communities who were professionals, I didn't know what steps I needed to take to be a lawyer. So when people would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would say, football player or basketball player, something that seemed safe. But thankfully, I had an awesome educator and parents that really pushed me and drove me to really truly believe and do whatever I could. So my passion really started with education and having a teacher who believed in me, who provided opportunities for me that I didn't even know existed. And through those opportunities, that ultimately forced me to become a teacher myself. So I moved to Arizona about 15 years ago to become a math teacher. And I can remember my students with all of the promise and courage and conviction and all of the knowledge and skills that they needed to be successful, but they lacked access and opportunity. Many of them, they didn't know people. Many times we know in this country, if you don't know someone, it's hard. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And for the students who I was teaching, they not only didn't know people, they had a state system that was consistently underfunding them. As a teacher, I had to Xerox copy textbooks so my students could actually take homework home. We had a revolving door of substitute teachers. In many cases, we had students that had to walk to school in the streets because the sidewalks were not developed yet. We were selling our students short because we had legislators that were more interested in making partisan bickering than actually investing in our kids and our communities. So I figured there was two things that I can do. I could either talk about it or I could be about it. And I chose to be about it. I chose to say, I'm going to run for office. So I started knocking on doors in the heat. Phoenix is an interesting place to run in the summers. So started knocking on doors, having conversations, talking to people about not just what we want, but what we need and what we should get to really create not just a moment in time, but a movement for us to have the ability to strive and do what we could. And that was in 2014. And I was lucky enough to be elected to the state legislature from the classroom to the floor of the House. And I can tell you during that time, I often talk about a microphone, and I say a microphone can be used for a number of things. It can be used to share a vision, a message. It can be used to inspire, or it can be used to build hate. But I chose with my microphone every time I picked it up that I wanted to inspire not only our kids, but our communities and our state to really see what's possible. So over the last 7 years, I fought for issues that matter most to our communities, whether they're issues on veterans' rights, whether they're issues on healthcare, they're issues on climate change, issues on our criminal justice reform system and what that means. And during that work, we've been able to make significant change. So over the last 7 years, I've actually got more bills signed in law than any other Democrat in the state legislature. And that's because it's about, you can clap that up. For those of you on Zoom, you can clap too. and that's about building relationships and building partnerships and understanding the system. Over the last 3 years, I've served in legislative leadership. I was the Democratic whip, and now I serve as the House Democratic leader, which means that I have the honor of leading the largest Democratic caucus since 1966. We have a total of 60 lawmakers at the state capitol. 31 are Republicans and 29 are Democrats. So we have the ability to be in a room and negotiate on issues that matter most. And there's no more important issue than voting rights. No matter if your issue is healthcare, if your issue is education, if your issue is climate, if you don't have the ability to cast your vote, then we're out here just hoping and wishing for change. There's an old adage that says, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. And when I think about what I'm seeing our Republicans do, is they're trying to pull that seat from the table. They're trying to make it more difficult for people to have the ability to express their voice. You may not remember this, or you may do. Last year, former President Trump, after the election, it was apparent to many of us that he lost. But what he was doing, he was picking up the phone and he was calling Secretary of States across the country. He was calling governors across the country, trying to force them to not certify the election results. But had we not had a Democratic Secretary of State here in Arizona that decided that she was going to actually certify the results and we were going to follow the rule of law, there may not be a President Biden. There may not be a Mark Kelly. So when I think about this office, Arizona Secretary of State, I think in 2022, this is probably one of the top 10 most important offices in this country. Because what we know is our status here as Arizona, we are a swing state. We'll continue to be a swing state. And I can tell you in 2024, there won't be any more important state than Arizona. And you're going to have a choice in 2022 to decide who's going to be that Secretary of State to actually certify the election. And that's something that we as Arizonans should take pride in. And I can tell you, people around the country, they recognize the significance of this race. And I'm excited because many of those folks across the nation and those organizations across the nation have supported my race, just like those folks here locally. We've actually been endorsed by more mayors and state lawmakers and our state elected leaders than anyone else in this race. So the mayor of Tucson, Flagstaff, Tempe, Guadalupe, El Mirage, Corporation Commissioner, Anna Tobar, every single state legislator is either supporting our race or they're staying out of this race. And that's important for a number of reasons. Because when you're serving for office, it's not just about doing the work, it's about working and building coalition. And in order for us to win this Secretary of State race, in the state of Arizona, you have to be able to build coalitions up and down the state. And you also have to be ready. And I want to talk about the readiness because many people don't know exactly what the Secretary of State's office do. You know, many people would make you believe that the Secretary of State's office is the office that just runs elections. That's actually not what the Secretary of State does. They oversee the elections. They certify the election equipment. Our county recorders actually run the elections. So it's important that the Secretary of State has not only an understanding of the elections, but they also understands how to make elections work for Arizona. And there's a reason why the Secretary of State is the Lieutenant Governor. So for many people who did not know, in the line of succession, the Secretary of State is right underneath the governor. And if anything happens to the governor, the Secretary of State would assume governorship. So the Secretary of State needs to actually understand the legislative process. You know, I've voted on 7 budgets. I've passed bills into law. I'm negotiating on big reform, whether it's opioids, whether it's our gaming legislation, whether it's water rights, whether it's issues that matter most to us. I've spent the last 7 years doing that work. And I think that's extremely important for us to have a Secretary of State that can do that, because I can talk to you about wanting to expand voting rights. I can talk to you about wanting to make it easier for people to vote. But if I can't pass the bill, or if I can't work with the legislature to get the bill passed, I'm just talking into a microphone. So you want to make sure when you're selecting that next Secretary of State, you're selecting someone that has the experience to get the job done. And there's a reason why our last several Secretary of States came from the legislature, like our current Secretary of State, and the one before that, and the one before that, and the one before that. They all came from the legislature, because that it's important to understand that process. But outside of the work that I do inside of the chamber, there's one thing that I do want to talk to you about that's near and dear to my heart. When I think about building power, I think about 3 things: organized people, organized money, and the ability to make change. And I truly believe that as an elected official, that there is no one person that can change the dynamics of our state or our country. And I think anytime we put our eggs in a basket of just one person, we're going to always be let down. The reality is, having someone that can actually make the decision is important, but organized people is more important, because it's beyond the elected official. Because an elected officials come and go, but movements stay. And when I think about the work that I've done, I actually run one of the largest civic engagement organizations in the state of Arizona. It's called the Arizona Coalition for Change. Many of you may not know the organization, but you may have heard of the work that we do. Last year, the voter registration deadline was extended, and 35,000 people voted in 10 days because the voter registration deadline was extended because of COVID-19 and the challenges that it took. That was my organization. We sued the state of Arizona in federal court, and we won. And I'm proud to announce today that we actually sued the state of Arizona again to fight against 2 voter suppression pieces of legislation, Senate Bill 1485 and Senate Bill 1003, because what we know is that when you make it more difficult for people to vote, that's un-American and that's not democracy. So we're optimistic about those federal cases that were filed today, and we're going to continue to make that fight and that movement go. So I ask for your support. I ask for your vote. I ask for your words of wisdom, and I ask for your encouragement, because the reality is we have to make sure that we not only fight for what matters today, we fight for what matters tomorrow, and that we're truly building a movement that can take us beyond mountains and move the mountains that we know we can. So thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to any questions that you have.
Okay, so for those of you folks who are on the Zoom, we'll repeat the questions. And if you have some questions on the Zoom, please type them in and we'll get those out. Anybody have any questions in person? You must have lots of questions. Yes, sir.
So,
all right, let me repeat it for these guys. The question of the day is, how do we make sure that either Representative Belding or Adrian Fontes wins this race? What do we need to do to ensure success? And this young man is 16, coming in, trying to get involved early. So thank you for being here. And let's see what the answer is.
You know, so that's an important question. You know, how can you help win this? How can we help win this race? I think there's a few different things. And I think with any race that you want to look at it in stages. And as a candidate, I'll be running for an entire year. So it's important for you to look at these things in stages. I think the first thing that you can do is, if you haven't had an opportunity to sign my petition is here. And if for those who are on Zoom, if you want to go ahead to the AZSOS website, you can sign our petition there. The first help to make sure that, one, we get Democrats on the ballot. So that's the very first step. right? We have to walk before we run. So let's help us get on the ballot, because that's a hurdle that all candidates have to face. I think the next piece from there is, I think, to be an engaged voter, to actually look at, candidates, look at their work, look at who's supporting these candidates, and look at their vision for what they believe in this office. So for any of us, it's important for us to engage ourselves, to educate ourselves on who we're supporting. Because I think once you do that, then it leads to the last step, which is, the excitement of the race. So you can either contribute or you can volunteer. We'll be up and down this state. We'll have opportunities. You can visit reginaldbolding.com to help support. And after the primary, I know we have a primary race, and I think it's great to have primary races. I've never ran in a race that didn't have a primary. I think it makes our candidates better. I think it makes our electorate more engaged, and I encourage that. But after the primary, we all come together as Democrats, and we all run to the finish line, and we all make sure that we win this office, because if we don't, it could be very difficult for us in the future. Oh, yeah.
So the question of the day is, are you running traditional or clean?
So, Bill, I'd like to think I'm clean. I'm running traditional, right? I'm running traditional, but I'm not using clean elections. So the reality is, Secretary Hobbs, when she ran this race, she raised about $1 million. That was a lot of money at that point in time. But I can tell you, with now the stakes of this race, not only its implications here in Arizona, but around this country, it's probably going to cost 3 to 5 more times than that. Arizona has probably one of the highest media markets, not one of. Last year, Arizona had the highest media market in the country. Senator Mark Kelly raised $99 million. $99 million. Which means that he's driving up the prices for everybody, right? So, when you support him, Mark Kelly, make sure you give that extra $5 to voting for Secretary of State as well. So it's going to be important that we have, that we build a campaign where we can tell our message. Because I wish I can do these every day, all day. And quite frankly, if I could do these every day, all day for the next 365 days, there still would be millions of people that I didn't reach. So we have to be able to get our message out. And that's the only way that we can do it in this climate right here. So thank you for that question.
All right.
Why the switch from what you're currently doing to Secretary of State? What do you see as that will be different? Why is it important for you to make that move?
Okay, for the question for those folks on Zoom, it was, why are you changing what you're doing today? Why is this position so important from what you were doing prior to that?
So as a lawmaker, one of the things I have to do is follow the law. And with that being said, this will be my 4th term in the state House of Representatives. So the people of my district, they have elected me 4 straight times. So I'll be going into my 8th year next year. So I'm termed out. So there'll be some other new great leaders who'll be in the House, who I'm sure will actually take the House, and they'll be able to pass great bills and legislation. So for me, that's one of the reasons I'm terming out. And 2, I think part of why I'm running is the moment. In the moment where I really truly believe that democracy matters. I have 2 little girls, Faith and Grace. And when I think about what I want this state and this country to mean for them, I think about democracy, because there's literally people who look like me who, I don't want to say died, who were killed for the ability to vote, for the ability to have their voices heard. And I don't take that lightly. And when you see people who are literally passing Jim Crow-like legislation, and they're masking it to make it appear that they're doing it for any other reason outside of what we know it is, to disenfranchise people, it's personal. And for me, I believe that this is the time, this is the moment, and I'd like to believe I'm the guy for the job.
All right, so for those of you folks who are on the Zoom, please feel free to type your question into the chat window. So young man has another question.
Yeah, I would like to ask because I don't know if you all heard, and I think you've heard it, Representative Bowen as well. The Secretary of State Hobbs, as you know, her power was limited by the legislator. How can you function effectively as Secretary of State if you're going to do that to you as well?
Oh, okay, let me do my best to try to paraphrase this. The question was, in the situation of the Secretary of State's office has had some limited powers this year based on some of the bills that have been signed and some of the the governor's choices. So essentially the question is, how can you actively do the Secretary of State's job in the new world order of Secretary of State?
I would like to think you were probably one of my students at some point in time, because like you're asking some great questions. So you know what's so for those of you who don't know, this past budget cycle, we had some Republicans that were up to no good. I mean, it got pretty bad, you know. They actually implemented a bill that would a piece in the budget that would limit some of the powers of the current Secretary of State. It actually is so bad that that piece of the language ends once Secretary Hobbs is no longer in office. So the next Secretary of State will actually have the full powers of the office. So the reason why they did that is because there's 2 Republicans running for Secretary of State. And they didn't want to limit their own powers. They wanted to limit hers. And I want to talk about those 2 Republicans. One is a guy named Mark Fincham. And Mark, yeah, we can boo that. Mark Fincham actually is an individual who participated and helped plan the January 6th insurrection. You know, Mark Fincham probably shouldn't be sitting on the floor of the House. He probably should be sitting in a cell somewhere, in all honesty. And we know Mark Fincham, if he's in this seat, that's not good news for Arizona. He actually wrote an email to his supporters. And in that email, he said, if I was Secretary of State in 2020, I would have made sure we won, indicating he would have overturned results or changed results to make sure that President Trump won. And I think that's important because that lets us know what his intentions are. And we have another Secretary of State candidate in the House, at least, who actually wrote a bill that was just as bad as the other bills that we've heard, in which the legislature would be the only body that can certify elections. So no longer the Secretary of State, just the legislature. So what we're up against a fight of people who will do anything that they can to hold on to power, which means that we're going to have to fight harder than we ever fought before. We're going to have to do things that we didn't know was possible. And that's what we've always done. And the history is on our side, and I believe we can do it.
Fantastic. So, Representative Bolding, thank you so much. Hang on there for just a second. So I'm going to let the crowd know. I got a note from Adrian Fontes. Unfortunately, he's had a family issue and will not be joining us this evening. So what I will do right now is we're going to take a 5-minute break. Let Representative Bolding catch his breath, because we're going to have him talk the rest of the way and let you ask more questions if he's willing. He can always say no, and he can say, I'm out of here, take his coffee and go. Do you have some more time?
I have a little time, yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone out there on the Zoom as well. So get up for a moment, folks, and mingle. For those of you folks that are on the Zoom, I'm going to take you in and show you Williams Coffee while we're here, and then I'll come back out and we'll do the rest of the story about how we're handling donations. So thanks again for joining, everyone. This is Williams Coffee. I'll put my mask on before I go inside. Thank you, sir. All right. So hopefully you all can see here, this is Williams Coffee. This is William. He's the lovely person who helped us get all set up and ready to go here. Thank you again. It's going fantastically well. Inside, we've got a book, sort of a mini bookstore here for you folks who have not been in before. All kinds of books. You'll notice some of them that are interesting probably to you, like this one here. It's a pretty good one. And then also you're going to see the shop in general. Lovely muffins, lovely coffee, lovely things in here. So again, Williams Coffee here. Carefree Highway. And thanks so much again for having us. All right, we'll be back with you folks on Zoom in about 90 seconds.
What we just put in, I just put in.
No, but I mean, before, we signed 7 petitions. Oh, but those, they didn't. Are trying to get back. So, these are all different. Did you sign these? I didn't sign these. Yeah, get up here, my dear. I thought I had signed everything. Some of these are gonna, I'm feeling
Wow. See, so you're great. You're great. I love it.
All right, folks, for those that are on the Zoom, we're just doing a little bit of mingling here amongst the crowd. And it's actually turned out really nice out here tonight. So we're still showing you on the screen as well. So again, thanks for being here. Thanks for your patience. And I'm sorry that Adrian Fontes was unable to make it tonight. So we'll get your questions here shortly. We'll get Representative Bolding back on the microphone and we'll be ready to go. So give us a couple minutes and thanks so much. All right, we're running.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Okay, folks. So, all right, we're kicking back off. Folks in person. Okay.
Reggie, I signed your petition. And we'll talk.
Thank you.
Tonight I signed 2. So the other 6 are.
That works.
I signed both of them. The only one I had, the other 6, Chris said are the same as we signed. Oh. Yeah, they're the same. Oh, that's right. You were here.
Well, actually, I lost my cash.
Good.
Absolutely. We'll put you right at the end and we'll get you out. No worries. Thank you. Okay. Got it. Perfect. Thank you. All right, folks. Thank you again for those folks who are on Zoom. Thank you for those folks who are here and haven't left. It is the time to request donations. We can't do any of this without you. We cannot make this happen without your donations. We appreciate it. And thanks to you, we're one of the best funded LDs in Maricopa County, although we're one of the smallest. With that, the other part of this is we had 90.3% turnout last time in the 2020 election in LD1, the third highest, and we want to be #1 this time. So with your help, we can make that happen. We are giving away tonight to a random donator choice of 2 books. This book, which is The Twilight of Democracy by Anne Applebaum, a fantastic review about how other democracies were challenged historically and how they either progressed or how they didn't progress. Very interesting book written by Anne Applebaum. We have that one available. And likely the second one that you're more interested in is the A Promised Land by Barack Obama. So if you would take a moment, we put the ActBlue link in the chat. Please feel free to click on that and just tell us you did it. We will trust you. Okay. Or for those of you folks who are here in person, if you'll just either, Mike has some envelopes he'll be passing along. There's also a QR code that you can put as well and get that all set and taken care of. So at the very end, we'll pick the winner and we'll make sure we get whichever book you choose back to you. So with that, Representative Boulding, I think is going to be back on here momentarily. And let me find him. We've got him until 7:50, 9 minutes. So what we'll do is we'll drive questions to him from what you have. And with that, thanks again for joining and thanks for being here. All right, you're back. Let me get you some questions.
Sorry, I'm not sure who's saying. Oh yes, yes. So so the question was, where do I live now? And I'm not sure if folks online can hear. Oh, okay. So I'm in Levine. I'm in Levine. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So yeah. So Levine is it's growing, right? Yeah. It's yeah. It's one of those places you can drive down and you can see a horse, you can see a chicken, you can see a car, you can see a pig. It's literally everything. Yeah, everywhere. I mean, Arizona, right? Right.
All right. So our first question from the chat online is, why should we choose you versus Adrian Fontes based on working with him historically up here in LD1?
Yeah, so I would like to think that you're not choosing one candidate versus another. You're choosing a vision of what you believe in and who you believe could actually win in November. And the reality is I truly believe that I have the best shot to not only win in August but to win in November. That's ultimately what we want to do, is we want to win this race. And I think a lot of that has been seen by the work that in the support that we've been able to get of why people believe that we have that best shot, and the coalitions that we're being able to build. I mean, quite frankly, I would say one of the most important things is you want to make sure that you have a lawmaker, a legislator in this role because of the importance of the seat, what's needed to actually fulfill the duties of this seat, not only the lieutenant governor role, but overseeing the elections role as well, and the experience. I mean, I think I would put my experience up against anyone in the race. The 7 years in the legislature, 3 in leadership, running one of the largest civic engagement organizations, literally have, part of a coalition. We've registered over 250,000 people as part of our coalitions. So this is not something that we've just been doing while I'm elected. I like to say the measure of someone is what they're doing when you're not watching. And I think what you can see is when I'm not watching, the work that I've been doing I don't even think it's there's not even a question of the difference amount in the amount of work that I've put into our community inside inside my office and also outside of my office. And I think that's why you see us having such a large coalition of people who are supporting us who actually do this work.
All right, last question of the evening. It's online, sorry. Thank you though, appreciate it. The last question of the evening, and we'll let you get out of here. Thank you so much for taking the extra time with us. We appreciate it. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. How do you get disgruntled Republicans, independents, and everyone else interested in what you're saying? And how do you get them to vote for you in this election?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to understand, you know, your targets, right? And who you're talking to. But it's also important to build confidence in leadership. The reality is, if we walk into a room and half of the room is Republican, half the room is Democrat, half the room is independent, I don't think it does any of us any favor to say half of you are just crazy, right? What you believe is not even in the realm of possibility. And we might think that, right? That, you know, there's no way that this election was stolen and people did, you know, nefarious things and China came in and jumped off. I mean, we may think that to be like out of the realm of possibility. And most of those folks probably think that, but there's some who believe it's real. And I don't want to alienate individuals who have been misled. And I think that's important. I'm gonna talk truth. I'm gonna speak truth to power. I'm gonna tell them the reality of what I've seen, but I'm not going to engage in the vitriol that we consistently see cycle after cycle after cycle, because you have to serve in this office. It's not just about winning, it's about governing. And I think if I've learned anything over the last 7 years is sometimes you got to cut the campaign off. You got to leave the speech at the door and actually get SHIT done. And you're 16, so I'm not gonna say it. Sometimes you got to get it done, right? You got to get stuff done. And if you're constantly worried about the media cycle and how you can game the system and how you can make the other person look bad, you can't get things done. So I'm going to speak truth to power. I'm going to speak to my vision, to my passions, to what I believe that most Arizonans care about. There's going to be some people who are going to support it. And we're gonna create a movement together, and there's gonna be some people who don't. And when I get the office, I'm gonna still attend their meetings and still hope that they support this office. I just want to say, Chris, thank you so much. Thank you all for giving me an opportunity just to speak and tell you a little bit more about myself, the work that I've been doing. And you know, again, I'd love to have your support. We'd love to have your vote. It's going to be a long race, about a year to go, and look forward to connecting and engaging with you many more times. So thank you so much.
All right, folks, give me just a moment. We'll get the next speaker on. Hold on.
Okay, thank you very much, Representative Bolding. It was fantastic and wonderful and greatly appreciated. We have one more speaker this evening to talk about the Cave Creek Unified School District bond, if I'm not mistaken. We have Mary Fortney and Jeff Fortney here doing that. And with that, I'll give you the microphone right here. If you'll take that, everyone will hear you.
Thank you. Thank you, LD1. It's great to be out and see folks in person. So yeah, I'm on the PAC with the bond. So I'm allowed to tell everyone to vote yes. Jeff's on the school board. He's really only supposed to talk facts, but I know a lot of you folks are in Deer Valley, so bear with me here. If you're in the Cave Creek Unified District over on the Cave Creek Carefree side of town, we have an all mail-in bond election this year. Ballots will start mailing October 6th. Mark your ballot yes and mail it in to pass a bond. We are the only district in Maricopa County that does not have a bond or an override in place. This bond is $40 million. It's all for tangible goods, buses, computers, athletic fields, carpet, you name it. You can find all the stuff on the website. It covers us for the next 9 years. And for the average homeowner whose assessed home valuation is way more than mine, it's $557,000. It only costs $94 a year. So I'm thinking that most of us have homes that are lower than that. So it's less than $100 a year for all of us to support our schools in Cave Creek that really need this infusion of cash. And we've got some palm cards. If you're in Cave Creek, you can pick up a palm card. And yeah, Jeff has those. Jeff can get you one. And is there anything else from the actual standpoint of what we're spending this money on, that the facts that you want to say?
The only other thing that I want to point out is that because of some of the way that things are kind of structured, they would be able to pay off some of their electrical fees that they're doing.
The solar upgrades.
The solar
that they did.
upgrades. And so that will free up about $800,000 a year that would actually be able to go to some of the override stuff. So that would be teacher salaries, some programs and things. So that's another reason that why we need for that.
Thank you, Jeff. One other thing, like I said, I'm on the PAC with mostly a lot of Republicans. There's a few liberals like me on there, but I have promised them that I'm going to bring home the Democratic vote. So if every Democrat mails in their ballot voting yes, we've got a really good chance. So thank you for your time.
All right, thank you so very much. This is fun trying to mix between 3 different devices. So where's the envelope? Mike can give you an envelope. So last chance here for anybody who wants to do a donation. Here's your last moment. We're writing down the names. We're going to randomly pick somebody out of the crowd. So with that, I want to say thank you to everyone who joined. And thank you to all who joined here in person. We do appreciate it. I know it's getting a little bit dark here, so I'll kind of step back into the light part here so it's a little bit easier. Hopefully you can see me a little bit better. With that, I want to say thank you to all of you who joined. I hope that this worked. I hope that this gave you some interaction for those who were here in person and for those who were on the Zoom. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you heard it all. We tried to do our best we could with this today. So if you did donate, we have your name written down here, and let me just check to see if we can pick a name out of the hat. Sorry, folks, a couple more names coming in here, last minute donations. So I'm letting them get those, and then we'll pick a number between 1 and something and see who happens to be the winner.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay.
All right, we chose a number between 1 and 10. A random person in the crowd chose number 7. All right, Kathleen, you are the winner. Kathleen, you are the winner. So Kathleen is remote, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And then Kathleen, we'll get in touch with you, figure out how to get you your book and get that taken care of, and let us know what you're looking for. So with that, folks, thank you again for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. Those who are on Zoom, greatly appreciate it. Those who came in person, we will be sending you a survey asking you whether this worked. Did you want to be on site? Did you not want to be on site? How did you want this to work better next time? We tried our best, and thanks for your patience. So enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks so much for being here.